The message came on a Tuesday. Earth was now part of the Galactic Council. Dr. Juan Kim stood at the window of her lab at Seoul National University, watching rain fall on the campus below. A week after their arrival, Juwan sat in the human quarters staring at her datapad. The council had given Earth a small section of the station with 5 rooms. It was meant to be an honor. The walls were plain white, and the air smelled too clean. "You should see this," Tae-yeon said, walking in with his own datapad. He placed it on the table in front of her. On the screen was a message from the council. Juwan read it twice. "A technology competition?" she asked. Tae-yeon nodded. "Every 10 years, the council holds a contest between member species. The winner gets control of new resources and leads the next cycle of research." Juwan scrolled through the details. This year's prize was access to a newly found energy source from a distant star system. It could change everything about space travel. "We should enter," she said immediately. Tae-yeon looked worried. "Juwan, we've been in space for less than a year. The Atraxians have been building starships for 50,000 years. So we'll lose, but we'll learn. If we lose badly, it could hurt Earth's standing. We're already seen as primitive." Juwan stood up. "All the more reason to try." The next day, Juwan registered Earth in the competition. She needed a team, so she called home. 2 days later, Yoonji Cho and Do-yeon Kang arrived at the station. Yoonji was the best engineer at the Korean Space Agency, with short hair and quick hands. Do-yeon was a computer expert who spoke little but typed fast. "This is all we get?" Do-yeon asked when he saw their small lab space. It was half the size of the other team's areas. "We're lucky to get anything," Juwan said. "The Atraxians think we shouldn't even be here." As if summoned by his name, Vexlor appeared at their door with 2 other Atraxians. "Dr. Kim," he said with a slight head tilt. "I was surprised to see Earth on the competition list." "We're full of surprises," Juwan replied. Vexlor's skin shifted to a darker blue. "Indeed. Allow me to introduce my team leaders." 2 more Atraxians stepped forward. Juwan realized with a sinking feeling that these were just the leaders. Behind them, through the door, she could see at least 30 more Atraxian scientists in their main lab. "How many people are on your team?" Yoonji whispered. "People?" Vexlor laughed. "We have 48 of our best scientists, plus 20 support staff. And you have 3? Do-yeon stepped forward. 3 is enough." Vexlor's 4 arms made a complex gesture. "There's no shame in withdrawing. The council would understand. This is your first year, after all." Juwan looked at her small team, then back at the Atraxian's smug face. "We're staying in the competition," she said. Later that day, all teams gathered in the main hall for the opening ceremony. 12 species had entered. Most had large teams with advanced equipment already being set up. The council elder, a tall being with glowing skin, explained the rules. Each team had 30 days to develop the best method for harnessing the new energy source. Samples of the energy material were provided to each team. As the ceremony ended, teams began to leave for their labs. A small, insect-like alien stopped near Juwan. "Brave of you to enter," it said in a clicking voice. "The Atraxians have won the last 6 competitions." 6? Yoonji asked. "Yes, most of us compete for 2nd place now." As the alien moved away, Vexlor passed by with his large team. "I hope you don't embarrass yourselves too badly," he said loudly enough for others to hear. Several alien teams looked at the humans with what seemed like pity. Juwan watched them all leave. Then she turned to her team. "Let's get to work," she said. "We have 30 days to prove them wrong." Do-yeon looked at the small sample of the strange, glowing material they had been given. "How exactly do we do that?" he asked. Juwan picked up the sample container. "I have no idea," she admitted. "But we're going to find out." 5 days into the competition, Juwan hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night. The glowing energy sample sat in the center of their lab. mocking them. Every test they ran failed. It doesn't make sense, Yunji said, rubbing her tired eyes. The power readings keep changing. Do-hyun looked up from his computer. That's because our equipment can't handle it. We need better tools. Jiwon paced the small lab. They had requested better equipment from the council, but were told each team must use their own technology. It was part of the rules. The rules are the problem, she said. They're designed for advanced species. A soft knock interrupted them. Taehyun stood at the door with food containers. You need to eat, he said, placing the containers on a table. How is it going? The three scientists exchanged looks. That bad? Taehyun asked. Yunji picked up a container. The test parameters favor Atraxian methods. Their quantum theory is different from ours, and their equipment is 1,000 times better, Do-hyun added. Our best computer is like a child's toy to them. Taehyun sat down. I checked the other teams. Everyone is struggling except the Atraxians. They've already completed the first phase. Jiwon wasn't surprised. Yesterday, she had walked past the Atraxian lab and seen them celebrating. Maybe we should focus on a specific aspect, she suggested. We can't match their full approach, but we might find one area where we can do well. They worked through the night on a new plan. By morning, they had rebuilt their testing apparatus. Jiwon felt a small spark of hope as they prepared the first test. Ready? She asked. Yunji nodded. Do-hyun started the countdown. 3, 2, 1. The sample glowed brighter. The machines hummed. For a moment, Jiwon thought it might work. Then sparks flew from their main computer. Smoke filled the air. The emergency system activated, spraying a fire suppressant that left them all wet and coughing. When the smoke cleared, Jiwon stared at their ruined equipment. Months of work destroyed in seconds. What happened? Taehyun asked, rushing in. The power surge was too much, Yunji explained, her voice tired. Our equipment couldn't handle it. Taehyun looked at their faces, then spoke gently. Perhaps it's time to consider a strategic withdrawal. No one would blame Earth for recognizing the challenge is too great this first time. Jiwon felt anger rising inside her. Not at Taehyun, but at the unfairness of it all. Before she could answer, the door opened again. Vexilor stood there, his blue skin almost glowing with satisfaction. I heard there was an incident, he said, looking around the damaged lab. How unfortunate. None of the humans responded. Vexilor stepped further into the room. My team has just completed the second phase. We're well ahead of schedule. Congratulations, Jiwon said flatly. I came to make an offer, Vexilor continued. The Council values Earth's enthusiasm. After the competition, I could arrange a position for you in our research division. As an assistant, of course. You could learn proper scientific methods. The room went quiet. Jiwon felt her team's eyes on her. An assistant, she repeated. It's quite generous, Vexilor said. Most new species wait centuries for such an opportunity. Jiwon looked at her ruined lab, then back at the Atraxian's smug face. Thank you for the offer, she said carefully. I'll consider it after we win. Vexilor's skin darkened with what might have been anger or amusement. Pride is not a scientific virtue, Dr. Kim, he said. It leads to failure. After he left, Taehyun shook his head. That was unwise, he said. We can't win this competition. Not with these rules, Jiwon agreed. But maybe that's the problem. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Something was forming in her mind. Not a solution to the energy problem, but something else entirely. We need to rest, she told her team. Tomorrow we try something different. Different how? Do-hyun asked. Jiwon turned back to them, a new determination in her eyes. I'm not sure yet, but I'm tired of playing their game. The lad was quiet at night. Jiwon sat alone, surrounded by broken equipment and failed tests. Sleep wouldn't come, so she did what she always did when stuck. She looked at the data again. All their test results were stored on her personal data pad. She scrolled through them, searching for anything they had missed. Then she stopped. Something wasn't right. She pulled up the competition guidelines and read them carefully. Then she pulled up information about previous competitions. The council had provided records going back hundreds of years. As Juwon read, a cold feeling spread through her chest. When Yoonji and Do-yeon arrived the next morning, they found Juwon still at her desk, surrounded by glowing screens filled with data. "Did you sleep at all?" Yoonji asked. Juwon shook her head. "I found something. Look at this." She showed them her screens. "These are the winners of every technology competition for the past 500 years. Do-yeon leaned closer. The Atraxians won most of them. Not just most. They won whenever the competition involved quantum mechanics, energy research, or space travel. The Volok species won when it was about biological research. The Marins won the atmospheric competitions." Yoonji frowned. "So the advanced species each win in their specialty areas." "Exactly," Juwon said. "Now look at this." She showed them another screen with the competition parameters. The rules change every year, but they always favor the strengths of certain species, and no lesser species has ever won. Not once in 500 years. Do-yeon sat down heavily. "You're saying the competition is rigged?" "Not exactly rigged," Juwon explained. "It's designed to maintain the status quo. The rules ensure that only the species already advanced in an area can win." Yoonji looked angry. "That's why our equipment can't handle the tests. The competition assumes technology we don't have yet. And we were never meant to win," Juwon added. "We were invited to participate as a courtesy, nothing more." They sat in silence, letting the truth sink in. The competition wasn't about advancing science. It was about reinforcing the existing galactic hierarchy. "So what do we do?" Do-yeon finally asked. "We can't win. We could withdraw," Yoonji suggested. "Tell everyone why we're leaving." Juwon shook her head. "They'd just dismiss us as sore losers. No one would listen." She stood up and walked to the window. The space station spun slowly, stars streaming past like rivers of light. "There has to be another way," she said quietly. Taeyeon arrived with food again, but stopped when he saw their faces. "What happened?" he asked. Juwon explained what she had discovered. The ambassador looked troubled. "If you're right, this could cause a diplomatic incident," he said. "We're new to the council. We can't afford to make enemies." "We already have enemies," Juwon replied. "They just pretend to be our friends." Taeyeon sighed. "What do you want to do?" Juwon didn't answer immediately. She was thinking about Earth, about humans. Throughout history, when humans couldn't win by playing the existing game, they changed the game entirely. "We have 15 days left," she said finally. "Let's use them well." "To do what?" Do-yeon asked. "Our equipment is broken. We can't compete." "Maybe we don't need to compete," Juwon said. "Not their way, at least." Yoonji looked confused. "What other way is there?" For the first time in days, Juwon smiled. "That's what we need to figure out." They spent the rest of the day talking, planning, thinking in new directions. As night fell, Do-yeon stood up suddenly. "Wait," he said. "What if we're thinking too small? We're trying to win a competition, but maybe that's not enough." "What do you mean?" Juwon asked. Do-yeon looked excited. "The competition reinforces the hierarchy, right? So winning one competition won't change anything. The system stays the same." Yoonji's eyes widened. "We need to change the system." "Exactly," Do-yeon said. "But how?" Juwon thought about Vexeler's smug face, about the pity in the other aliens' eyes, about 500 years of competitions designed to keep the lesser species in their place. "Sometimes," she said slowly, "when you can't win the game, you have to flip the table." Yoonji looked worried. "That sounds dangerous." "It is," Juwon agreed. "But what's the alternative?" Except that humans will be second class for the next 1,000 years. They all fell silent, considering the choice before them. Finally, Do Yun asked the question that would change everything. So what are we going to do? Withdraw. Jiwan's eyes gleamed with determination. No, she said, we're going to declare war. The large meeting hall was filled with representatives from all competing species. It was the mid-competition assessment, where each team would present their progress. Taehyun paced outside the hall, his face tight with worry. Are you sure about this? He asked Jiwan for the 10th time. Once you do this, there's no going back. Jiwan straightened her simple black jacket. She had slept well the night before, for the first time since the competition began. I'm sure, she said. Yeonji. Do-Yun. Her teammates nodded. They looked nervous but determined. Inside the hall, the Atraxian team was presenting their results. Vexlor stood at the center of the stage, his 4 arms moving gracefully as he explained their approach. Holograms of complex equations floated around him. As you can see, he concluded, we have successfully contained the energy and achieved 78% efficiency. We expect to reach 90% by the end of the competition. The council members nodded approvingly. No other team had come close to those results. Next, announced the council elder, we will hear from Earth. A murmur went through the crowd. Many had expected the humans to withdraw after their equipment failure. Jiwan walked to the stage alone. She carried only her datapad. No holograms, no fancy displays, just facts. Thank you for this opportunity, she began. Her voice was calm and clear. Earth has decided to withdraw from the competition. The murmuring grew louder. Vexlor smiled from his seat in the front row. However, Jiwan continued, we are not withdrawing because we cannot compete. We are withdrawing because the competition itself is flawed. The room went silent. For 500 years, the technology competition has had the same pattern. Advanced species win in their areas of expertise. No newer species has ever won. She tapped her datapad. The main screen behind her showed a chart of past winners. This is not a coincidence. The parameters of each competition are designed to favor specific methodologies that only the established species possess. She showed another chart, highlighting the correlation between competition rules and the technologies of winning species. In short, the game is rigged. It was never meant to advance science. It was meant to maintain the current power structure. The council elder rose from his seat, his glowing skin pulsing with what might have been anger. These are serious accusations, Dr. Kim. They are facts, Jiwan replied, and they are provable. I've analyzed every competition for 500 years. The pattern is clear. She moved to the next slide, showing her analysis. The rules always require equipment or knowledge that new species cannot possibly have. It's like asking a child to win a race against adults, then claiming the child is simply slower. Vexlor stood up. This is absurd. The human is upset because her primitive technology failed. She blames the competition rather than her own shortcomings. Jiwan looked directly at him. If the competition were fair, our primitive approach would at least have a chance. But it doesn't, because it's not meant to. She turned back to the full council. Earth is withdrawing from this competition, but we are not accepting defeat. Instead, we are declaring war. The room erupted in shocked voices. Not a war with weapons, Jiwan quickly added. A war against this system that keeps new ideas down and old powers in charge. She showed her final slide, a detailed breakdown of how competition parameters consistently favored established species. Science should be about discovery, not maintaining the status quo. It should welcome new approaches, not punish them. As Jiwan stepped away from the podium, chaos broke out in the hall. Some representatives shouted angrily. Others leaned toward their neighbors, whispering urgently. Taehyun met her at the edge of the stage. You've caused quite a storm, he said, looking around at the uproar. Good, Jiwan replied. Storms clear the air. Vexlor pushed through the crowd toward them, his blue skin now almost purple with rage. "You've insulted the Council and the Atraxian people," he hissed. "This primitive conspiracy theory will be the end of Earth's standing in the galaxy." Juwan stood her ground. Perhaps, or perhaps it's the beginning of something new. As they left the hall, a small group of aliens watched them go. Unlike the others, they weren't angry. They looked thoughtful, even impressed. And one of them began to follow. Back in their quarters, Juwan and her team sat in silence. The excitement of the declaration had faded, leaving them wondering what would happen next. "The Council might send us home," Taeyen said, looking worried. "They could revoke Earth's membership entirely." A soft knock interrupted them. Taeyen opened the door carefully. Outside stood 3 aliens, each from a different species. One was small and crystalline, with light shining through its clear body. Another was cloud-like, shifting in the air with swirls of green gas. The third looked like a walking fish with shimmering scales. "May we enter?" asked the crystal being. Its voice sounded like small bells. Taeyen looked at Juwan, who nodded. The 3 aliens came inside. They moved cautiously, as if afraid of being seen. "I am Lumi of the Lumari," said the crystal being. "This is Vola of the Volans." The gas creature swirled in greeting. "And Mur of the Mersians." The fish-like alien bowed slightly. "Why are you here?" Juwan asked. "We saw your presentation," Lumi said. "You spoke a truth many of us have known, but never dared to say." Vola's gas form rippled. When it spoke, its voice was like wind through leaves. "For centuries, we've competed knowing we could never win. The advanced species control everything." Mur nodded, water droplets falling from its scales. "The Mersians have tried new approaches many times, but the judging always favors Atraxian methods or Volok's biology." Juwan looked at the 3 aliens with new interest. "You believe me, then?" "We've lived it," Lumi said simply. "And we want to help." Yunji leaned forward. "Help how?" "We propose an alliance," Mur explained. "Not just to protest, but to prove the point. Together, we might succeed where separately we have failed." Doyum looked skeptical. "But you said the competition is rigged against you too." Vola shifted closer. "It is. But combined, our different scientific approaches might create something new, something even the Atraxians haven't considered." Juwan felt a spark of hope. "You mean work together? Share technologies?" "Exactly," Lumi chimed. "The Lumari understand crystal computing. We store energy in our bodies. Volans manipulate gases and atmospheres," Vola added. "We can control the energy's environment perfectly." "And Mersians," Mur said proudly, "have mastered liquid quantum states. We can flow where others cannot." Taeyen looked concerned. "Is this allowed?" "The competition rules say nothing about cooperation between species," Lumi finished. "It's never happened before. No one thought to forbid it." Juwan looked at her team. This was more than she had hoped for. Not just a protest, but a real alternative. "If we do this," she said, "we'll need to work fast. There are only 14 days left. And we'll need a place to work," Yunji added. "Our lab is damaged." Mur made a bubbling sound that might have been a laugh. "The Mersian lab is underwater. The Atraxians never visit. We can work there." "I have another question," Do-Yun said. "Our systems aren't compatible. How do we share data?" Juwan thought for a moment. "Can you show me your data interfaces?" she asked the aliens. Each demonstrated their technology. The Lumari used light patterns through crystals. The Volans stored information in gas densities. The Mersians used liquid flow patterns. Do-Yun studied each system, then nodded. "I can build a translation interface. It won't be perfect, but it should work." "So we have a plan," Juwan said. "But what exactly are we building?" "Not what the competition asks for," Lumi said. "Something better." "The real solution," Vola added, is not just to harness the energy, but to do it sustainably. The Atraxian approach takes without giving back. Mer touched the table with a wet hand. Together, we can show there's another way. Tahyun, who had been quiet, finally spoke. If you do this, the council will be angry. But they might also be impressed. And if we fail? Yunji asked. Then we fail together, Juwon said. But at least we tried something new. The 7 of them, humans and aliens, looked at each other. They were about to cross a line never crossed before in council history. When do we start? Do-hyun asked. Juwon stood up. Right now. As they left for the immersion lab, none of them noticed the small drone following them, its camera eye recording everything for Vexlor to see. The immersion lab was unlike anything Juwon had ever seen. Half the room was underwater. Strange bubbles floated in the air, containing equipment and data screens. Light came from glowing plants that grew from the walls. It's beautiful, Yunji said, touching one of the bubbles gently. And practical, Mer replied. Water conducts energy better than air. For 7 days, the unusual alliance worked tirelessly. The Lumari created crystal structures that could store the energy safely. The Volans controlled the atmospheric conditions perfectly. The Mersians developed liquid pathways for the energy to flow through. And the humans tied it all together. Do-hyun's interface system was the key. He created a device that translated between the different technologies, allowing them to work as one. It's like teaching 4 different languages to speak to each other, he explained to Taehyun, who visited daily to check on their progress. By the 8th day, news of their alliance had spread through the station. Other species came to see what they were doing. Most were simply curious. A few were openly hostile. Vexlor arrived while Juwon was testing a new crystal configuration with Lumi. So this is your war, he said, his blue skin dark with anger. A sad little coalition of failures. Juwon didn't look up from her work. Do you need something, Vexlor? We're busy. The council is not pleased with your actions, he continued. This cooperative approach undermines the very purpose of the competition. Now Juwon turned to face him. And what is that purpose? To ensure the same species always win. To recognize excellence, he snapped. Something your primitive methods will never achieve. After he left, Vola drifted closer to Juwon. He is afraid, the gas being observed. Of us? Yunji asked with surprise. Of change, Mer said from his water tank. The Atraxians have been on top for so long, they can't imagine any other way. On the 10th day, they had their first major breakthrough. Using the Lumari crystals to focus the energy, the Volan atmospheric controls to stabilize it, and the Mersian liquid quantum state to direct it, they created a working prototype. It wasn't perfect. The energy output was still only 65%, compared to the Atraxians' reported 85%. But it had one major advantage. It's stable, Lumi explained to a group of visiting scientists from other species. The Atraxian method extracts maximum energy quickly, but the source burns out. Our method is sustainable, Juwon added. The energy source remains viable indefinitely. Word spread faster than they expected. By the 12th day, 2 more species had asked to join their coalition. The tree-like Arbori and the insect-like Hifkin. We bring different perspectives, said the Arbori representative, whose bark-covered body creaked when he moved. The Atraxians call them irrelevant. Perhaps here they will be valued. Juwon welcomed them immediately. Do-hyun expanded his interface to include their technologies. Yunji helped integrate their methods. The expanded team worked around the clock. As they did, Juwon noticed something important. Each species approached problems differently because of their unique evolution and environment. What seemed obvious to one was invisible to another. That's our advantage, she told the team during a rare break. Not better technology, but diverse thinking. On the 14th day, they tested their final design. The energy sample glowed brightly in its containment field, power flowing smoothly through the hybrid system. Juan checked the readings and smiled. Efficiency. Mer asked from his tank. 83%, Juan announced. And completely stable. The lab erupted in cheers, bubbles, light flashes, and gas swirls, each species celebrating in their own way. Taehyun arrived with news. The Atraxians have reached 90% efficiency, he said, but there are rumors their source material is degrading rapidly. Ours isn't, Yunji said proudly. It will last indefinitely at 83%. Taehyun looked at the diverse team working together. You've done more than create an energy system, he said to Juan quietly. You've created a new way of doing science. Juan nodded, watching the Lumari and Hivkin collaborate on a crystal structure while the Volans and Arbori adjusted atmospheric conditions. Now we just need to make the council see it, she said. That, Taehyun warned, will be the hardest part. 3 days before the competition deadline, the coalition lab buzzed with activity. Their system now achieved 87% efficiency and remained completely stable. But more importantly, they had discovered something unexpected. It's not just about harnessing the energy, Juan explained to Taehyun. We found a way to replicate it. Taehyun's eyes widened. Replicate? You mean create more? Juan nodded. The combination of Lumari crystals, Volan atmosphere, and Mersion liquid quantum states creates a feedback loop. The energy renews itself. That's impossible, Taehyun whispered. The council scientists said this energy source was finite. They were wrong, Yunji said, joining them. Or perhaps they never tried combining approaches like we did. The discovery had been accidental. Do-hyun had noticed that their energy readings weren't decreasing as expected. At first, he thought it was an error in his interface. But when they checked, they found the energy level was actually increasing slightly. The Arbori were the key, Do-hyun explained. Their photosynthesis technology, when combined with the Hivikin's hive mind processing, created a regeneration effect. That morning, representatives from 3 more species had arrived at their lab. The rock-like Terralith, the wind-riding Zephyr, and the shadow-dwelling Umbra. All had heard about the coalition's approach and wanted to join. We welcome your contributions, Juan told them. Every perspective helps. By midday, news of their breakthrough had spread across the station. Scientists from many species came to see their work. Even species aligned with the Atraxians sent observers. Vexlor arrived with 4 security drones. His blue skin was almost black with anger. This has gone too far, he announced. You've stolen competition materials and corrupted the process with this. Collaboration. Mer rose from his water tank. We've stolen nothing. Each team contributed their own materials. And there's no rule against collaboration, Lumi added, her crystal body glowing brightly. Vexlor turned to Juan. The council will never accept this mockery of the competition. I'm reporting you all for violation of protocol. After he left, the lab fell silent. Will they disqualify us? Yunji asked. Juan shook her head. They can try, but too many people know what we've achieved now. She was right. By evening, delegations from 17 different species had visited their lab. Most left impressed. Some joined the coalition immediately. This is getting bigger than the competition, Taehyun observed. It's becoming a movement. Late that night, as most of the team rested, an urgent message arrived from the council. They had called an emergency session. All competition teams were required to attend. Is this it? Do-hyun asked as they walked to the council chamber. Are they shutting us down? Let them try, said the Zephyr representative, who floated beside them. We will be heard. The chamber was packed with representatives from all council species. At the front, the Atraxian team displayed their results proudly. Vexlor stood with the council elders, whispering urgently. When the coalition entered, now 23 species strong, a murmur ran through the crowd. The head elder, a tall being with glowing skin, called for silence. This emergency session has been called to address a serious matter, he announced. The nature of the technology competition has been challenged. Vexlor stepped forward. These species have violated the spirit of the competition by forming an illegal coalition. Their results should be disqualified. Where in the rules does it forbid collaboration? Juan asked calmly. It's implied. Vexlor snapped. Each species competes alone. That's how it's always been. Perhaps that's the problem. Lumi chimed in. Some traditions need to change. The head elder raised his hand for silence. The question before us is not just about rules. It's about results. The Atraxian team has achieved 92% efficiency. What has your coalition achieved? Juan looked at her diverse team, then stepped forward. We've achieved renewable energy, she said simply. A shocked silence fell over the chamber. Impossible, one elder said. We can demonstrate, Juan offered. Using a portable version of their system, the coalition showed how the energy not only maintained its output, but gradually increased over time. As the demonstration concluded, Juan faced the council directly. This breakthrough wasn't achieved by any one species. It happened because we combined our different perspectives and approaches. No single species, not even the Atraxians, could have discovered this alone. For the first time since Juan had met him, Vexlor seemed speechless.